Let's bring in the Shadow Immigration Minister Dan Tehan. Dan, good to see you this morning. Before I ask you about that, did you watch the football this morning?
I didn't watch it. I've watched the highlights, and I must say, hat off to Graham Arnold. What a call, and he backed himself, and he's coming for a lot of criticism, but this has been a campaign like no other for the Socceroos. He stuck to his guns, and to him and Andrew Redmayne, I mean, they can have a quiet beer tonight over there and celebrate because... Well done, Socceroos. Just fantastic to see.
Fantastic to see, absolutely right. And we're all buzzing here too. Now, back to that news story, Dan, about that third asylum seeker boat's been intercepted since the election. You now shadow immigration. So does that show that the system is still working despite who's in charge?
Well, it does show that the Labor Party are implementing the policy that we successfully put in place, which is good. But they've also got to make sure they take some extra steps. And one of the things that I'd be encouraging them to do is to get a minister straight away to Sri Lanka to meet with the Sri Lankan government. Now, whether that's the Immigration Minister, the Home Affairs Minister or the Foreign Affairs Minister, someone needs to be getting to Sri Lanka. We've got a crisis occurring there. We've got to be doing what we can to support that. It's in our national interest to make sure that we're helping the Sri Lankan government at this stage. So it's now time to be proactive. We don't want to see any more boats coming from Sri Lanka. So let's take a proactive step. Let's get over there and let's see what we can do working with them to stop these boats from coming in the future.
And what can we do to work with them beyond what we are already doing?
Well, we should be looking to see how we can support the government in stabilising the situation. There is a humanitarian crisis there, what we can do to bring the UN to help and support with what's happening, see what we can do with the global food organisations to see whether they can help and support there. There's a lot of things that we should be doing, but immediately we should be thinking about getting over there and seeing what they do need in support, so we're not going to see these boats continue to come. Let's act at the source rather than having to deal with it here.
Dan, Parliament's not sitting until July. That's a way off still. What do you make of that?
Well, I'm incredibly surprised. This was a government that said accountability and transparency would be at the forefront of everything they do, yet the Parliament is not going to sit until the end of July. Why? And you know what? While Parliament isn't sitting, things are getting held up. So not only are we missing out on that accountability and that transparency, for instance, the UK Free Trade Agreement and the Indian Free Trade Agreement are sitting there dormant. We need the Parliament to sit. We need J. Scott to sit for these to be approved. Now, they will help with the mobility crisis that we're facing and the skills crisis we're facing at the moment. They'll help with inflation, reduce tariffs on imports, and also will help our exporters. So why is the Parliament not sitting till the end of July? I can't understand it, and I've heard no good reason from the government as to why. The Parliament is the place where we are able to hold the government to account. Now, you've got an energy crisis, skills crisis, you've got work that needs to be doing, and we're not sitting till the end of July. Why?
Well, just on that energy crisis, we had Matt Canavan on the show a short time ago. He says that the government needs to pull that gas trigger. Would you agree with him on that front?
Well, one of the things that we were very successful at in government was working with industry to say to them that we have these mechanisms in place. Now, we'd prefer not to act on them, but if you don't do the right thing by the Australian people and especially by Australian industry, then we will. So I think Matt's right to say to the government that they should be thinking about pulling this trigger. If we can't get the gas at the right price to our manufacturing industries in particular, we're going to see dire consequences as a result, and ultimately, in the end, it's going to lead to higher unemployment. So they should be looking at all these options, and this is the type of thing and the type of questions that we should be able to put to the government when the Parliament's sitting. But we won't be able to do it until the end of July. This was a government.
Yeah, when you
said it was going to, transparency and accountability.
Sorry, Dan. Just finally, I want to talk about Richard Marles, because as Trade Minister, we spoke about this so many times. You were unable to get your counterpart in China on the phone, but in a pretty short space of time, Richard Marles has been able to get not just his counterpart on the phone, but he's been able to meet face to face. So why do you think that he's had more success than you and your former government?
Well, first of all, can I congratulate Richard for getting that meeting? And that meeting took place because the previous government, our government, made it very clear that we would not meet with the Chinese under any preconditions. Now, ultimately, we held the line on that. It took 3 years, but there's been a change of government, and the Chinese have eventually said, yes, we're prepared to meet without preconditions. So well done to Richard, because he's built on the hard work that we put in place. But what needs to be done next now is the outcome side of it, and that's what we're looking for. Where will the outcomes be? Are we going to see our coal be able to go to China? Are we able to see our lobster, our wine, our barley? Will the actions they're taking against our meat exports, will they all be lifted? That's what we need to see now is that substance and the outcomes as a result of what's been done. Good first step, but now let's see the substance. And in the meantime, why not continue down the diversification path by making sure we're looking at other options? And two of those options are sitting there on the table waiting to be implemented. But we can't do it because the Parliament won't come back till the end of July, and we don't know why.
OK, Dan Tehan, we'll leave it there. Appreciate your time, though, this morning. We'll talk to you soon.